Des let the go. Lord in love, I love good afternoon. Friends, here we're Latin 6 and Latin 2. With all our heart in an attack so we can continue the general attack that we are performing throughout all the generations, and now we've reached the tip of the spear and we are ready to keep on attacking. So come on friends, we're attacking our hearts and from the heart of the friends to the Creator, because we need Him to listen to us, and we know that He does listen to us. This is why we're here, in order to express our voices so that He will accept them, because these are the voices of the heart that wish to speak so that we will be felt and we will feel ourselves as a single voice, as one man in one heart. Let's go friends and attack. Rarash says you must always stand guard all day and all night. When you feel a state of day or feel a state of night, we say to the Creator, yours is the day and yours is also the night. Thus the night, the darkness of night, comes from the Creator to man's favour too, as it is written, day to day utters speech and night to night expresses knowledge. It follows that you must awaken the heart of the friends until the flame rises by itself, as our sages said about it. When you mount the candles, by that you will be rewarded with awakening the love of the Creator upon us. Again, you must always stand guard all day and all night. When you feel a state of day or feel a state of night, we say to the Creator, yours is the day and yours is also the night. Thus the night, the darkness of night, comes from the Creator to man's favour too, as it is written, day to day utters speech and night to night expresses knowledge. It follows that you must awaken the heart of the friends until the flame rises by itself, as our sages said about it. When you mount the candles, by that you will be rewarded with awakening the love of the Creator upon us. A question for an active workshop: how can we awaken the heart of the friends until we are rewarded with awakening the love of the Creator upon us? Again, how can we awaken the heart of the friends until we are rewarded with awakening the love of the Creator upon us? Active workshop. Yeah, good morning. How will we awaken? Now we got here to the lesson. It's a great opportunity with the Raf and our friends, and we have the greatness of this state now towards PS. Our friends want bestow, they want connection, they want the revelation of the Creator to the entire world, and the goal is so near, it's right here, right now. It is happening in this Pesach. It's just a matter of a decision, and each one of us is already in the right place. Externally, we can be together focused in the lesson, and we're also the focus group today, and internally through the prayer we attract the light, and only the light can raise us and make changes in us for the better and awaken each other. Actually, we should know that awakening the heart of the friends, it all depends on me, not to wait for someone else to do something to awaken something, that someone else will take care of it. The Creator arranges the whole of reality such that everything depends on you, on the extent to which you will be there or you won't be there. If you're there, what are you going to do with your thoughts? Are you thinking about the friends maybe you want them to awaken, and all your actions? To what extent are you awakening the heart of the friends? And it doesn't matter if you have forces or you don't have forces. The most important is, what are you doing all the time? What is your direction towards the heart of the friends, and who is your partner? Are you taking the Creator as a partner, or are you trying to do it by yourself? So we realize that we constantly want to awaken the heart of the friends and ask the Creator that He will be the one who is awakening this heart. Everyone puts a sesame seed here into the group, into the society, and especially now in this lesson, as we're entering this time of preparation for Passover, and everyone adds their piece so that we're all alert and awake during the lesson, absorbing everything that Rav brings down to us. Yes, we are in a very special time. This Passover is very special. It feels to me as though we're closer from every other moment to achieve our goal. All the doors are already open. They're waiting for our prayer hour, demand, and the Creator or His revelation is here. It's here in my corrected attitude towards their friend, and the attitude of that friend towards another friend. It is something That is so near, so much within our reach. We simply have to come and demand that. It will happen that the demand from the Creator that He will complete the phrase. 2. 1. Creator gave us everything to succeed. We have no right not to succeed. We have the environment, we have the method of the teacher and the sources, and we just need to build the vessels. 'Cause I heard that we're already in the light and everything's already there besides our deficiency. So it's up to us in this lesson to build this deficiency. Enter the first level as Rarish writes, friends are the sons of Baru. We are studying God. We have the strongest weapon, which is the love of friends between us. We want to enter the lesson with all the friends in our hearts so that together we can achieve the light. We can receive the light that Rob will pass on to us. So let's do it together so that all the friends who did not come will come. Everyone is present with us, and in this moment in the lesson the light and the love of the Creator will be revealed upon us. So let's enter the lesson together with joy, with an uplifted spirit, because the friends are here holding us together. As friends we have to advance together in haste, like in the Exodus from Egypt. We all want to come out together and connect and feel the Creator. So we have the permission from above to come out of the darkness together. Let's go hand in hand, brothers, go through it together, full speed to leave Egypt behind and go to the land of Israel. Go ahead, says we rush our pleas above, knock by knock tirelessly, ceaselessly, and we do not weaken at all. When He does not answer us, we believe He hears our prayers, but waits for time when we will have the vessels to receive the guaranteed abundance. Then we will receive a reply for each and every prayer at once, since the hand of the Lord will not be short. God forbid. Again we rush our pleas above, knock by knock tirelessly, ceaselessly, and we do not weaken at all. When He does not answer us, we believe He hears our prayer, but waits for time when we will have the vessels to receive the guaranteed abundance, and then we will receive a reply for each and every prayer at once, since the hand of the Lord will not be short. Silent workshop. Let's enter the lesson with hearts connected for an attack on our path towards their Creator. Let's enter the lesson with hearts connected for an attack on our path towards the Creator. We will start today with a recorded lesson from March 2007. We're going to be reading from test part 15, item 34. It's 57 minutes. Again, we'll start our lesson with a recorded lesson from the study of the tense he wrote in Hebrews, volume 6, part 15, item 34. The recorded lesson will be for 54 minutes. Please note there's no English text, only Hebrew. The study of the tense of wrote, part 6, volume 6, part 15, item 34. This is the reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt. This exile meant the departure of the first 5 of serpent from the 4 bottom ones. Within it there is the level of Malhut, and corresponding to these 4 who were lacking the above mentioned light, the exile was extended for 400 years. Again, this is the reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt. All we're talking about is with respect to the Malhut. The states of Malat are what we are clarifying in each and every place. That's what's important to us. The first end don't determine anything here. We're only talking about the states of Malat. A specific state of Malat is called exile when it's lacking light, and accordingly the souls lack light because what's received in the Mal goes to the souls, and therefore the exile of Malat in its 4 phases, that is called 400 years. Light, item 34. The reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt, that this exile meant the departure of the first 5 of Serin from the bottom 4. Within it there is the level of Malat. It has already been explained above that the matter of the moin of Ursut, which are the moin of the week days, are considered as the illumination of the first 5 that shine from above downwards to the place of below of Serpent, where there stands, because when Zerin receives the mauve in its row, it bows its head to the Peel, to the place of its old, where Jacob is standing, who receives there from Syrian and imparts them to the Nakpa. It turns out that the first 5 of the rampin, which are the mo of, are imparted to the bottom 4 of zerin, which are the tani from it, and below, and from the time of the sin of Adam Harishan until the redemption of Egypt, these moin were lacking in Sir, and they were only, and Son were only, in the state of back to back from Kazan. Below without illumination of these first 5 in the bottom 4 of Serin. This matter was corrected in the redemption of Egypt, because from the redemption of Egypt onwards until the construction of the first temple the Zone were installed in back to back in the illumination of the above first 5. These moin were no longer missing from them, thus the primary correction done through the redemption of Egypt was to correct the illumination of the first 5 of Saran from the Minaf to its bottom 4. This is the meaning of the 400 years that this exile was extended, meaning in order to correct the ban and for of the rampan, until they received the mo of your suit, permanently in the state of back to back. From and below again reading the inner light of 34, the reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt, that this exile meant the departure of the first 5 of Serin from the ban 4 in it, which is the level of it has been explained above, that the matter of the mo of which are the mock of the week days are considered that the illumination of the first 5 shining from above downwards to the place of below of where the stands, because when Serin receives the mo of in its row, it bends its head to the place of its old, where Jacob stands who therefrom, and imparts them to the. It turns out that the first 5 of which are the mo of adulthood of are imparted to the Benton for of Serin, which are there from it and below, and from the time of the sin of Adam Harishan until the redemption of Egypt. Those were missing in Zeri, and they were on and Zon were only in the state of back to back from Kaz below without illumination of the above first 5 in the bottom 4 of Sarante. This matter was corrected in the redemption of Egypt, because from the redemption of Egypt onwards until the construction of the first temple the Zone were installed back to back in the illumination of the above first 5. These were no longer lacking from them. Thus the main correction done through the redemption of Egypt for the exile of Egypt was to correct the illumination of the first 5 of Serpent from the mo of your suit to its bottom 4. This is the meaning of the 400 years that his exile continued, meaning in order to correct the bottom 4 of the rampan until they received illumination of your suit, permanently in the state of back to back from Kaz and below. Now we'll read definition 31. Definition 31. What are the illumination? What is the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards? So the definition 31. What is the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards? The mo of that on the weekdays are considered as the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, because that does not receive them in the hour of Zerin in its place, but only through the bowing of the often, through the state of its, where Jacob and Rachel stand when the Tsar of Serin rise to it, and the receives the mo only from Jacob, and since the moin come through the bowing of the head of the row to the place of that became hence there considered as illumination of the first 5 that are extended to the place of the, because the nuker does not receive in their place in the first 3 of Sir. Reading their definition, what is illumination of the first 5 from above downwards that apply on weekdays are considered as illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, because the nukra does not receive them from the row of Zerpin in its place, but rather only for the bowing of the row of Zerin to the state to the place of it is Jacob and Rachel stand at the time of the ascent of the he of the ramp to its, and the receives the mo only from Jacob, and since the mo come in the bowing of the to the place of that became hence they are considered as illumination of first 5 that are extended to the place of the nuker sins. The nuker do not receive from their place in Gar of Zuring. Continuing to read the words of the item 35. Continuing to read the words of the in item 35. Later on, when the time of the redemption of Egypt came on the 10th of the month, they took the Pesach, the Passover, indicating that then it was complete. part in the state of back to back with 10. This is why they took it from the 10th, and then they waited another 5 days, and they shined in it the other first 5 in it, and then came the night of Passover on the 15th of the month again. Item 35. Later on, when the time of the redemption of Egypt came, on the 10th of the month they took the Pesach, indicating that then it was a complete part in the state of back to back with 10. He wrote, this is why they took it on the 10th, then they waited another 5 days, and they shined in it the other first 5 within it. Then it was the night of Pes on the 15th of the month. Well, continuing with item 46, this is the meaning of what is written in the Zar, the portion of Mo about the 15th of the month, because the moon exists in its completeness 5 on top of 10. This means that when she was in the state of the back, this is considered a tens of road, and her level is only the bottom 4 of the run pin, and the first 5 of the run pin are on top of them, and when she grows with it upwards she takes their place. It follows that now she's in the state of 5 on top of 10. This is on the night of Passover, which is on the 15th of Passover. Then she goes back to be face to face with it, and therefore we say on that night that we say the complete prayer of Hallel. And then she immediately came down to as she was in the first at first. This is why there is no complete Hallel in the night of Passover. Again, reading item 36. This is what is written in the Zar about the 15th of the month, because the moon exists in its completeness 5 on top of 10. This means that when she was in the state of a back it was tensive wrote, and her level was only the bottom 4 of Serpent, and the first 5 of Serpent are on top of them, and when she grows with it upwards she takes their place. It turns out that now she's in the state of 5 on top of 10. This is on the night of Passover, which is on the 15th of the month. Then she comes back to being face to face with it in the 6th phase. Therefore we say on that night a complete Hallel prayer of thanksgiving immediate. Then she promptly descended as she was in the beginning. This is why there is no complete Hallel in the 7 days of Pes. Item 37. And afterwards, since then and onwards, until Solomon built the first temple, she was in all the days of Shabbat face to face in the 6th phase, and only 6 weekdays she was back to back in the 3rd phase, and she was with a complete part extensively wrote from the chasm below, and also the light of the first 5 of Serpent always shined in her. This is the reason for remembering the exodus from Egypt, because it was a great redemption in terms of her first being in the days of the exile in only phase 2, and this is the proof of the tensifi in the back, the posterior from Hazen below, without the illuminations of its first 5 in her, whereas in the ruin of the witch wasn't so in the ruin of the first temple. Again, reading item 37. Later on, since then onwards until Solomon built the first temple, she was in all the days of Shabbat in the state of face to face in faith 6, and in all 6 weekdays she was in the state of back to back in the 3rd phase, that she was with a complete pu tensifi wrote from below, and also the light of the first of was always shining in her. This is the reason for remembering the exodus from, because it was a great redemption in terms of her being first in the days of the exile in only phase 2, which is the part of tens in posterior from below, without the illuminations of its first 5 in her, which is not so in the ruin of the first temple. Item 38. Later on, with item 37 we have inner light down below, great redemption in terms of her first being in the days of the exile in phase 2, without the illumination of the first 5, which wasn't so in the ruin of the first temple. This means that in the ruin of the first temple, the in the nut for the first phase also remained, which is a pu of tensi wrote back to back from Kizn below, with the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, meaning as she was corrected by the redemption of Egypt. Nevertheless, there it is called ruin, and here it is called a great redemption. This is what he explains here, because this is why it is called great redemption here, because initially in the days of the exile of Egypt he was in phase 2, which is back to back from and below, without the illumination of their First 5 therefore after in the redemption of Egypt she attained the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards. This was considered at that time to be great redemption, which is not so in the ruin of the first temple, because before the ruin she was in the state of being, meaning in the place of the upper Abba, and because of the ruin of the temple she descended to phase 3, which is back to back with the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, and this is considered as complete ruin. Thus the reason becomes clear that phase 3 considered as great redemption in Egypt is considered as a great ruin in the ruin of the temple, because everything is according to the time. Again, reading the inner light of item 37, a great redemption in terms of her first being in the days of the exile in phase 2 without the illumination of the first 5, which wasn't so in the ruin of the first temple. This means that in the ruin of the first temple the the first phase also remained in the, which is the part of tens if you wrote back to back from below, with the illumination of the bottom of the first 5 from above downwards, meaning as she was corrected through the redemption of Egypt. Nevertheless there it is considered ruin, and here it is considered a great redemption. No nation and tongue rule that, because after the end of correction the kipot, the shells, are removed forever. And we're reading question now 186, why in the prayer of knocking on the Yom Kippur. Question 46. 6 of the question 146. Question 146. Why does the they are include the 3 faces of the back and the 4 faces of the face a 7 degrees, while in fact there are no more than 4 degrees? So why does the Ravi include the 4 faces of the back and the 4 faces of the face in 7 degrees, while there are no more than 4 degrees? The answer 146. Those 7 degrees that the AR considers include all the primary changes of states that there are in the, because initially he considers they of the back, which are the first 3 phases, the making of the vessels, and then he considers the 4th phase, which is the inner of the face, meaning already the perception of the lights, and then he considers the 2 phases of the mo of, and what receives that the mo of the Panim, the face, he considers it as the 5th degree, and the mo of Panim of Abima he considers to be the 6th degree, and both of them use a single ket face 2 face, which he considers to be the 7th degree. When they connect, meaning the states of that they divide to the light that she receives the light of, and the posterior and the face. The posterior is always called the making of the kli with respect to the vessels with respect to, and the face means when she already corrected herself and she receives fulfillment. So that's how these states are detailed. There's the light that reforms, which with respect to the kli is called light of aim. Why? Because it corrects the will to receive, that is called. Then comes a light of the face, wherein the corrected vessels will already have the reception in order to bestow the usage of the vessels themselves. That's how the general light of Jua divides to 2 parts. It's not that the light itself divides, rather according to its influence in the created being. There again we're reading the words of the words, the item 34. There is a reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt, that this exile meant the departure of the first 5 of serpent from the ban, for within it there is the level of malhud, and corresponding to these 4 who were lacking the above mentioned light, the exile continued for 400 years, meaning these clothed over 10 of the 4, and each is like a hand. Therefore the volume of Nukiver, what she lacks in terms of receiving from Sing, it's 4 asterisk 100, which means 400 years. That's how it's called. This is the time of the exile until she comes back and receives from all of these corrected the fulfillment called redemption, and redemption means the correction of these by which they are then fulfilled according to the revelation of their Creator. Reading inner light item 30. For the reason for the 400 years of the exile of Egypt, that this exile meant the departure of the first 5 of Sarin from the Ben 4 within it where there's the level of malhood it has already explained above that the matter of the mo of which are the mo of the weekdays are considered the elimination of the top the first 5 that shine from above, downwards to the place of Kazan below, Serin where the nuker stands, because when Serin receives the mo in its row at its head it bends its row to the place of its old nigh where Jacob stands, who receives there from the ram and imparts them to the turns out that the first 5 of the which are the adulthood of are imparted to the Baal, 4 in which are from it and below and from the time of the redemption of Adam of the sin of Adam until the redemption of Egypt. These moin were lacking in Zerbin and Zon were only in the state of back to back from Kazan below without the illumination of the above mentioned first 5 in the bottom 4 of Seri. This matter was corrected in the redemption of Egypt, because from the redemption of Egypt onwards until the construction of the first temple the zone were installed back to back with the illumination of the first 5, and these moin were no longer lacking from them. Thus the main correction done through the exile of Egypt was to correct the illumination of the first 5 of Zanan from the Moab to its bottom 4. This is the meaning of the 400 years that this exile was extended, meaning in order to correct the bottom 4 of the Rampin until they receive the Mo of Ur, suit permanently in the state of back to back from and below the words of the item 35. Later on, when the time of the redemption of Egypt came on the 10th of the month, they took the Pesach, indicating that then it was a complete part in the state of back to back with Tensafi. This is why they took it from the 10th. Then they waited another 5 days, and they shined in it the additional first 5 within it, and then came the night of Passover on the 15th of the month. Again 35 later on, when the time of the redemption of Egypt came on the 10th of the month, they took the Pes, indicating that then it was a complete part instead of back to back with Tensafi. This is why they took it from the 10th, and later on they waited another 5 days, and they shined in it the other first 5 within it. Then came the night of Passover on the 15th of the month. Item 36. This is the meaning of what is written in the Zohar, the portion of Emo say about the 15th of the month, because the moon must exist in its completeness 5 on top of 10. This means that when she was in the state of back, which is 10 road, her level was only the bottom 4 of the run pin with the first 5 of serpent on top of them, but when she grows together with it she takes their place. It turns out that now she is in a state of 5 on top of 10. This is on the night of Pesach, which is on the 15th of the month, because then she comes back to being face to face with it in the above mentioned phase 6. This is why we say on that night a complete prayer of Hallel, and then she promptly descended as she was initially. This is why there is no complete Hallel on the 7 days of P.S. Again, reading item 36. This is the meaning of what is written in the Zohar about the 15th of the month, because the moon should exist in its completeness 5 on top of 10. This means that when she is in the state of a posterior in with Tensafi, her level is only the bottom 4 of Zerin, and the first 5 of Serpin are on top of them. When she grows together with it, she takes their place. It turns out that now she is 5 on top of 10. This is on the night of Pesach, which is on the 15th of the month, because then she returned to be face to face with it in the above mentioned phase 6. This is why on that night we say a complete Hallel, and promptly she descended as she was initially. This is why there is no complete Hallel on the 7 days of Passover. Item 37. Later on, since then and onwards until Solomon built the first temple, she was in all the days of Shabbat in the state of face to face in the above mentioned phase 6, and in all the 6 weekdays she was in the state of back to back in phase 3, as she was with a complete part of Tensafi from Kaz and below, and also the light of the first 5 of Serin always shined in her. This is the reason for remembering the days, remembering the exodus from Egypt, because it was a great redemption in terms of her first being in the days of the exile only in the second state, which is a pursuit of Tensifi in the back from below without the illuminations of its first 5 in her, which is not so with the ruin of the first temple as written in the tree of life. Item 37. Again later on, since then and onwards, until Solomon built the first temple, she was in all the days of Shabbat in the state of face to face in phase 6, and in all 6 weekdays she was in the state of back to back in the above mentioned phase 3, as she was with a complete poo of Tensifi from Hazen below, and also the lights of the first 5 of Zerin always shined in her. This is the reason for remembering the Exodus from Egypt, because it was a great redemption in terms of her first being in the days of the exile only in phase 2, which is a part of Tensifi in the back of below without the illuminations of its first 5 in her, which is not so with the ruin of the first temple. Inner light. Item 37. It was a great redemption in terms of her being first in the days of the exile in phase 2, without the illumination of the first 5, which was not so in the ruin of the first temple. This means that in the ruin of the first temple, the third phase also remained in the Nukvar, which is the poo of Tensifi, wrote back to back from Kazan below with the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, meaning as she was corrected through the redemption of Egypt. Nevertheless, there it is called ruin, and here it is called the great redemption. This is what he explains here, because this is why it is called great redemption here, because initially in the days of the exile of Egypt she was in phase 2, which means back to back from Kazan below without the illumination of the first 5. Therefore, after she has attained in the redemption of Egypt the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards, at that time this was considered as great redemption, which is not so in the ruin of the first temple, because before the ruin she was in phase 6, meaning in the place of the upper Abama, and because of the ruin of the temple she descended to phase 3, which is back to back with the illumination of the first 5 from above downwards. Hence this is considered as complete ruin, and it is utterly clear that the reason that the same phase 3, which is considered as great redemption in Egypt, is considered as a great ruin in the ruin of the temple, because everything is according to the time. The words of the air. Item 38. Words of the item 38. Later on, when the first temple was built by Solomon, another phase was added to her, and it is because whether on Shabbat or on the weekdays she was always face to face with it in phase 6. However, the 7th phase, which is that the 2 kings use a single crown, a single ket, was never that way until the future, where it's so in the first temple. No nation or tongue would ever rule us anymore again. Item 38. Later on, when the first temple was built by Solomon, another phase was added to her, which is that whether it is on Shabbat or on weekdays she was always with it, instead of face to face in phase 6. However, phase 7, which is that the 2 kings used a single kettle, a single crown, was never in that state until the future time, where it's so in the first temple. No nation or tongue would ever rule us at all. In order to get out of Egypt we need a phase 7, otherwise it's not enough to move from 3 to 4. You have to emerge from the kepot, detach from them, receive new vessels, and when we're already above them, detached from them, then you can be in various states where they're detached from the kepot, but when they come out they have to be connected. These are the vessels that are still in control, and therefore you need great light for all these vessels to come out of them. You're asking this: if I am in these desires, then in some way I need to control them. The desires don't disappear, they're always in me. So how with if these desires are in me, how do I nevertheless come out of them? Because they don't disappear, and then I could allow myself to have less strength than in the exit, because in the exit I'm still scrutinizing these desires, good and bad are still mixed. I still can't tell the difference. Only during the exit, when the light of redemption comes, that light severs my desires. I then know what to work with and what not to work with, and in what way, and then essentially I'm in kind of control and vitality in Vessels of bestow by detaching from. Vessels of reception they now receive. Light now the light I receive in them sustains me, and then I can be detached from vessels of reception, and I don't need the great light that will keep shining on me on them to show their evil, because I move to vessels of bestow and I find livelihood in them. So it's as if there's a very thin light of, but it allows me to be in vessels of bestow and be protected from touching reception. You could ask, why the light they receive to come out of exile, the exile of Babylon? It is already called redemption. Why is it? It is less than the exile of Egypt, because the other vessels awaken. So what are the other vessels? How is Po different from Haman? There's an explanation to that. Because first, the corrections of the vessels already happened. It's no longer the exile like in Egypt. He explains that I didn't understand the matter of the 400 with the 4. It just symbolizes that dresses in fourth of and opposite him. In order to scrutinize herself, she has to receive these 4 lights that clarify her tense. Until she scrutinizes all her tense, she can't determine her state, so much so that she can determine she can hate the state of exile and come out to redemption. So when dresses on the force field of Zampan, receiving these discernments, receiving these lights that built her posterior, this is what we call the light of 400 years, or the 400 years of Nicaea, the 400 years of exile, and writes that because NVE didn't scrutinize all her, but only 210 as opposed to 400 years of exile in Egypt, that caused the rest of the exiles. And we need to understand what it means. Was there a mistake here? Of course not. The vessels that need to make corrections, whatever they know about. That's so we need to understand how the language is what is expressing here, that you can't clarify a certain amount of vessels more than that in Egypt, only a part of the vessels, and then after the exit you have to go to exile again and scrutinize more in the exile of Babylon, another tense fill, another portion of the will to receive, and then finish the job in our exile, and therefore or accordingly you have 4 exiles, and then the whole vessel is scrutinized in depth, and we come out of this last exile, if we're talking about our reality that we're in, and then we come out of it. He says to the 7th degree, which is the future to come, where there's already face to face between zone there in one level as one body, using one Ket. Exile of the first temple is a higher degree than the redemption of the second temple. If we also consider the direction, in one case it's a departure, in a second case it's an ascent. We could talk about it on and on, but in practice it depends on the preparation of their vessels. How many vessels do I now need to discover correct qualify? That is called exile. Coming out of the exile, the vessels are broken. I have to qualify the vessels and receive lights in them. Qualification of the vessels is called preparation for redemption, and when the light appears in these vessels it's called redemption, because redemption means when the letter Alph appears in the word Galazzo. With the letter Alph it's Gar, which means redemption. Without it it's exile, and Alph refers to the champion of the world, the creator, and so I have to prepare the vessels, train them to be corrected, and then they can hold lights. That's called redemption. If I don't tract lights, you can't call it redemption. So it depends on what vessel and what light I need to make now. If I have a small vessel and receive a small light, that's a time in redemption. If it's a big vessel, then no, and sometimes there is a small redemption. That with respect to a big Kli we call it exile. How does it happen? Because what is food for the lower one is waste for the upper one. So what you scrutinize in the upper degree is called waste, meaning it cannot be eaten, cannot be received in order to bestow, but for the lower one it's food, just like where the food you throw away is eaten by a dog. Therefore the first and second temples, these are 2 adjacent degrees of, and in the lower level where there's of course very different laws that apply if you want to qualify the vessels of reception in order to bestow what great light you need. This is called the first temple, and if you only need to leave the vessels of bestow in order to bestow the vessels of alb and to then, you need the small light. So the light of redemption in the first temple is the light of the tearing of the red. See, because they take all the vessels out, but then in the first temple there was there a fall, the descent, and the descent was not to actual kipot, but it was a descent of a degree, so it is exile. But however, it's an exile of 70 years. They studied Torah, they had spiritual attainment, they knew they're in exile, they were afraid of detaching from spirituality, so it's a different kind of exile than it is now. It was an exile where they still had illumination. In that exile they knew they detached from spirituality, and that's why also in corporate reality they found themselves in Babylon, and Haman wanted to take them out of that as well. He was afraid of the temple being built, and then also that they can't go on like that, because if they still have some grip, and in the exile of Babylon there was still some grip in spirituality, so they will always want to go back. They will always feel that they're in exile. We however have no sense of exile, we don't feel it, we only say it because we are completely detached from the upper light. So when they had to go back from the Babylonian exile of that story, then they didn't need so much to come back to the temple, and when they went back to the temple they were already on a different level, different degree. That's just the second temple, which is not of. Therefore in the second temple there are no more vessels to receive in order to bestow, only to bestow in order to bestow. And from that level there was already a descent to exile. It's exactly what we're told in part 7 of test regarding the shattering of the vessels. The first 4 kings, the kings of with the light of they shatter and fall to the then come the secondary kings, which are from the shatter with light of they want to bestow in order to bestow, but they can't do that. Also this is the second temple. From here you can learn what's the difference between the exile in Egypt, the exile in Babylon, the exodus from Egypt, and the exodus from Babylon. It's exactly the fall of the 2 towers. As the Zohar calls it, it uses these terms for the first and second temple. Now you can ask, but what great light do we then need in order to now come from our state to revelation to redemption? A very great light. That's why it's called Messiah, much greater than what it was in the degree that was before the ruin of the first temple, because then the keeper of Pharaoh was scrutinized. The children of Israel didn't replace their names as it is written regarding Egypt, meaning they had a small illumination that still remained. They had the luminescence of Jacob when they came out of Egypt. They even took the body of Joseph. I'm sorry, I'm confused today with my preparations for the trip home, and they had a grip there. We however are completely detached. There was never such a state, and that's why the light of redemption has to be very great, because we are in this whole mixture with the kipot. We are in a state that the souls were never mingled that way, because in the shattering of those two parts of in the world of they came from above downwards. Those 2 temples we just came from above downwards, but now we are from below, from states that didn't exist before. We have to rise upwards. That's why the light of redemption must be very great. It is a very powerful, sharp scrutiny. If we're talking about the light of redemption out of Egypt, the tearing of the Red Sea, which is GMA. So for us, it has to be much greater. Well, we'll talk about that more. Yes. What is it that Mal had closed on the top 4 of the how can she do it, and what does it mean that she receives these sortings, the scrutinies, because these scrutinies do not belong to her. Mal has no more than a will to receive. It's a will to receive. I want to enjoy like a drop of sperm. Now this needs to be added all kinds of qualities of the stool. From that her body will be built. It needs a substance. It needs to be inflated with qualities with the first nut. That's the structure. Various manners of bestow. Let's say you have 1,000,000 kilograms of the will to receive. It's called a point existence from absence. Why? Because only all he wants is to receive. What do you want to receive from whom? In connection to what exactly you want to enjoy in this or that way. I just want say what then I don't know. If you don't know, that means nothing. 0 a point, just a point. Then you say, no, I want to enjoy this type of light. This appearance of light. Now you're starting to infuse your will to receive with some sphere where you say, I want to enjoy this and that. How do you know? I absorbed impressions from the light. So to begin with is a point, it rises to, and then it receives from the force. Or an impression. What does it mean to be the giver, the bestower? Because these they bestow to, it's the that's intended to bestow to the low ones. So she receives from there his illumination, and that's how she understands what bestow is. Then from understanding to what is bestow, she builds her first. She herself remains the point of, but that creates the of the 4 lower ones of become her first 9, and she herself remains as the point of mut. That's it. This is called the structure of in the structure of the nucleus. There's a state called posterior where she builds her sphere, where she receives impressions from the Olympian that he wants to give, and thus she builds her spur to receive in order to bestow to him what he wants to give. Then afterwards she receives what he actually wants to give, the pleasure itself, the fulfillment. So Malat itself is just a point. Her whole structure is based on the upper one, meaning I just nullify myself. I don't care what I want, what I don't want. I don't have anything. I'm just a point, but as a point I want to adhere to you. What do you want to give me? What do you want me to receive? This, that I want. That's it. This way, that way. I want it. Why? Because you want to give me. If you want to give me, I want to receive. That's how she builds herself, meaning it's great work itself. And a moment it's not working according to my own mind, it's working according to what dictates her, and she receives his desire as her desire. That's mean it's called that she's adhered to Zanpin, and this is the work of the woman opposite the man in spirituality, in corporality. It's kind of opposite, right? Ask yourself. Before we move on to the next part of the lesson, let's sing a song together. Shashinis. We live a life. Shy this. We have to love, yes. Then I share living my life. Behold our love holding up. Chalam. We're reading from Rush come unto Pharaoh 2 again. Reading Rush come unto Pharaoh 2. The Sor asks, it is written come unto Pharaoh, but it should have said go unto Pharaoh, etc. Since the Creator saw that Moses was afraid and other appointed emissaries from above could not approach him, the Creator said, behold, I'm against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great monster that is in the midst of his Niles. The Creator had to wage war against him, and none other, as it is written, I am the Lord, which they explained, I am not a messenger. Thus, for its words, the difference between come and go is that come means that we should walk together like a person who tells his friend, come. We should understand it because the Sor asks why the Creator needed to go with Moses. Is it because Moses alone could not fight him, but the Creator himself and none other? Why did he need Moses to go with the Creator? After all, it says, I'm not a messenger. Thus what is the point of the Creator going to Pharaoh, who is called the great monster, with Moses? He could have gone to Pharaoh without Moses. We should also understand what our sages said. Lish said men's inclination overcomes him every day and seeks to kill him. As it is said, the wicked watches the righteous, and if the Creator did not help him, he would not overcome it. As it is said, the Lord will not leave him in his hand. Here too arises the question, if a question cannot prevail by himself and needs the Creator's help, why this doubling? In other words, either the Creator gives a person to overcome him alone, or the Creator will do everything. Why is it that 2 forces seem to be required here, one of men and subsequently the force of the Creator? It is as though only the 2 of them can conquer the evil, and one force is insufficient. Here it is known that man's perfection is that he must reach the purpose of creation, which means to obtain the purpose for which the world was created, which is called to do good to his creations. In other words, the created being should come to receive the delight and pleasure that he contemplated to delight them with, prior to that creation, is still not considered the creation that befits the Creator, since it is known that from the perfect operations should emerge. This means that everyone should feel the beauty of creation, and each and everyone will be able to praise and glorify creation, and everyone will be able to glorify and thank the Creator for the creation he has created, and that everyone will be able to say, "Blessed is he who said, let there be the world." In other words, everyone should bless the Creator for having created a good world, filled with pleasures, where everyone is joyful and happy from the contentment they feel from all the pleasures that they experience in the world. However, when a person begins to examine if he is truly satisfied with his life, and how much contentment he is truly deriving from himself and from his environment, he sees the opposite, that everyone is suffering in torment, and each person suffers differently. But one should say, "Blessed is he who spoke, and the word came to be." So he sees that he's only saying it as lip service. However, it is known that the delight and pleasure cannot appear in the world before the world has vessels of bestow, means our vessels of reception are still contaminated by self-reception, which is greatly restricted in its measure and also separates us from the Creator, meaning that there was the first restriction on the vessel of reception, so the abundance would not shine there. See in the introduction to the book of Zohar, obtaining the vessels of bestow is where disputes and wars begin, since it is against our nature. This is why we were given to, in order to achieve the degree of bestow. As our sages said, I have created the evil inclination, I have created the spice of Torah. Also we were given the mitzvah, the commandment of love your friend as yourself. Said this is the great rule of the Torah. In other words, by working in love the friends, and accustoms himself to exit self-love and achieve love of others. However, we should understand what we see before our eyes, that there are people who exert in love of friends and still have not come an inch closer to love of their Creator, so they can work into and due to the love of their Creator. This means that they say they are in fact advancing a little in love of friends, but they see no progress in the love of their Creator. However, we should know that in love of friends too there are degrees, meaning we must contemplate the obligation of love of friends. We can compare it, we can liken it to a two-story building with a ground floor as well. The king is on the second floor, and they say that one who wishes to come to the king, meaning his only goal is to converse with the king face to face, is told that he must first climb to the first floor, since it is impossible to climb to the second floor without first climbing to the first floor. Certainly everyone understands that this is so. However, there is a reason why they must first climb to the first floor. It is called corrections. In other words, by climbing to the first floor, one can learn that to address the king face to face, and he will be able to ask the king for his wish. That person who hears that he must first climb to the first floor and subsequently to the second floor understands it very well. But since his only wish is to see the king's face, and he cares for nothing else, this makes what he sold, that he must first climb to the first floor, a burden and a toil for him. However, he has no choice, so he climbs to the first floor. He's not interested in seeing what is there, although he heard that the first floor is where one learns how to speak with the king. He pays no attention to that, for this is not his goal. His goal is the king, not what he can learn on the first floor. His goal is not the study, but his goal is to see the king's face. Why should he waste time on trifles, since everything is not compared to the king? Why should he take interest in what is taught on the first floor? Hence, when he climbs to the first floor, he has no desire to delay there. Instead, he wishes to quickly climb to the second floor, to the king himself, for this is all he wants. However, he is told without knowing the rules that abide on the first floor. You certainly blemish the king's honor for this reason. You cannot hope to be able to climb to the second floor before you learn all there is to learn on the first floor. Similarly with love of friends, we heard that it was impossible to be rewarded with the love of the Creator before one is rewarded with love of friends, as Rabbi Akiba said, love you friend as yourself is the great rule of the Torah. Therefore, while engaging in love of friends, he's not considering love of friends as being valuable, but as something that is redundant. He keeps it because he has no choice, but he's constantly looking for the time when I will be rewarded with the love of the Creator and I'll be able to rid myself of the love of friends. This work is burdensome to me because I can hardly stand my friends, since I see that each one of them has different traits than mine, and I have nothing in common with them. But I have no choice, since I was told that without love of friends I won't be able to achieve love of the Creator, so against my will I sit with them. However, I can ask myself, what am I getting from the friends? Only one thing: I'm correcting myself to self-torment by sitting with them and tolerating the friends' talks which I dislike and which are against my nature. What can I do? I'm told that I must suffer in this world, so I do. I sit and wait for the time when I can run away from them and avoid seeing their loneliness that I see in them. It turns out that he's not taking from the love of friends the remedy called love of others, but only because he was told that he has no choice, for otherwise he will not be able to achieve the love of the Creator. This is the reason why he engages in love of friends and keeps all the obligations to which the friends commit him, but what he should learn from them is miles away from him. This means that he is not exiting self-love and he is not reaching love of others. He is observing the love of friends not out of love, but out of fear, since he is not allowed into the love of the Creator before he enters first into the love of friends. As a result, he fears not observing love of friends, because he will not be allowed into the love of their Creator. This is similar to the allegory about not being allowed into the second floor where the king is before until he climbs to the first floor. The idea is that he will learn the rules of how to be watchful of the king's honor. So reason dictates that he would be happy to go on to the first floor, since now he's learning how to be watchful of the king's honor. It would benefit him because afterwards, when he enters the king's palace, he will not blemish the king's honor, and therefore while he is on the first floor he pays attention to all the rules that apply there and to becoming accustomed to them, since he wants to come into the king in order to bestow upon the king and not at all to be contemptuous of the king's honor. This relates only to one who wishes to come before the king to give contentment to him, but one who wishes to come in before the king for self-reception considers what is found on the first floor as redundant. It is of no interest to him. He goes up to the first floor only because he is afraid, since he knows that he will not be allowed to climb to the second floor before he climbs to the first floor. He feels no need to study the laws that are taught the how to avoid blemishing the king's honor, since the only reason he wants to come before the king is for the purpose of self-love. Therefore, we should know that we were given love of friends to learn how to avoid blemishing the king's honor. In other words, unless he has no other desire except to give contentment to the king, he will certainly blemish the king's honor, which is core, passing on holiness to the external ones. For this reason, we mustn't underestimate the importance of the work and love of friends, for by that he will learn how to exit self-love and enter the path of love of others, and when he completes the work of love of friends, he will be able to be rewarded with love of their Creator. We should know that there's a virtue to love of friends. One cannot deceive himself and say that he loves the friends if in fact he does not love them. Here he can examine whether he truly has love of friends or not, but with love of their Creator one cannot examine oneself as to whether his intention is love of the Creator. meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator, or his desire is to receive in order to receive. But we should know that after all the corrections that man is given to do without the Creator's help, he will not be granted any progress in the work of bestow. And we asked, why then should one do things in order to later be rewarded with the help of the Creator, after all the Creator can help, even without the work of the lower ones, and man's work on progress in the work will not help in any case. However, if one does not begin to work, he does not know that he cannot triumph over the inclination. But when a person begins to walk in the work of the Creator and does what he can do, then he can offer a true prayer for the Creator to help him. But why would the Creator want him to offer a true prayer with the flesh and blood? You can say that he wants him to make a genuine plea, because when a person makes a genuine plea of his friend gives him true gratitude. The flesh and blood chase honors the gratitude he gives him is as though he's belittling himself before him, and he enjoys it. But as for the Creator, does he need to be given people's respect? Therefore, why would the Creator want a person to make a heartfelt prayer? The thing is that it is known that there is no light without a vessel. It is impossible for one to give something that is very important. If one has no desire for something, he will slide it and discard it. It will be lost because the need for something matches what he needs. This gives the importance. To the extent of the importance, he keeps the gift from being lost, for otherwise everything will go to the kipot. This is called nursing theot, meaning that everything goes to the vessels of reception, which take into their authority everything that a person's light in matters of holiness. From this we know why one should begin the work. But why doesn't the Creator give one the strength to complete the work alone without his help? It is known what the interprets concerning what our sages said. He who comes to be purified is aided, it asks with what, and it says with a holy soul, meaning he receives illumination from above, which is called a soul, called attaining godliness, which means that he is included in the thought of creation to do good to his creations. It follows that by having a desire and a desire for vessels of bestow, he receives the light called. Thus both are required. In other words, a person should begin, and by but he receives a vessel, and by being unable to finish he cries out to the Creator for help, and then he receives the light. Now we can understand what is written, "Come unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart in the heart of his servants, that I might show these signs of mine within him." A question arises: why did the Creator harden Pharaoh's heart? The text answers, that I might show these my signs in the midst of them, and the interpretation is, why has the Creator hardened man's heart, and he cannot win the war against the inclination by himself? The answer is, so man will cry out to the Creator, and by that we will have the vessel, and then the Creator will be able to place the letters of the Torah within him, inside the soul that the Creator gives him as help. This is considered the Torah, and the Creator are one. My signs refers to the letters of the Torah, as in the names of the Creator. This is the doing good to his creations, which is the thought of creation, to do good to his creations. This comes to a person specifically when he has a plea, and this comes through the hardening of their heart, for then there is a place where he can cry out to the Creator for help, and he helps him with a holy soul. Now we can see the matter of come unto Pharaoh, meaning both of us together. In other words, a person should begin and then see that he cannot defeat it, and this is implied in Moses being afraid to approach him, and then the Creator said, "Behold, I am against you, Pharaoh," meaning that then comes the help from the Creator, and with a holy soul, as written in the said. It follows that the hardening of the heart, in the words "for I have hardened this heart," was to make a place for a prayer, and this prayer is not like one of flesh and blood who wants respect to be asked so he will be respected. Rather, the purpose of the prayer is from him to have a need for the help of the Creator, for there is no light without. And when a person sees that he cannot help himself in any way, then he has a need for the Creator's help. This is the meaning of what our sages said: the Creator craves the prayer of the righteous. Here to there arises the question, but what does the Creator need man's surrender that he will ask of him, since his wish is to benefit his creations? But there is no light without a vessel. He craves the prayer of the righteous, for by that they disclose the vessels into which he can impart. It follows that when a person sees that he cannot overcome the evil in him, this is really the time for asking for the help of the Creator. Now we can understand what the Creator said: and I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And our sages wrote about it as follows: who brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. The sages thus said the Creator unto Israel: when I bring you out, I will do for you something to show you that it is I who brought you out from Egypt, as it is written, that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out. This means that it is not enough that the Creator brings the people of Israel out from Egypt, that they were liberated from the torment that they suffered there. When speaking of the work of the Creator, there arises a question: was this not enough? Now they have been liberated from the enslavement of the exile after not being able to serve the Creator due to Pharaoh's rule, and all that they built for themselves, whatever position in the work, was all swallowed in the earth, as our sages said. And one said her name was, and why was her name Rams? For his head to splinters. First interprets when they built summit would splinter and fall. They would rebuild, and it would fall. And one said her name is Rams, and why was her name? It is because first is first. It was swallowed by the mouth of the abyss. We therefore see that there's no dispute between regarding to the facts, only regarding the interpretation. The fact was that everything that they built would fall. This means that every time they built for themselves some structure in the work, the Egyptians came, meaning the alien thoughts of the Egyptians, and ruined all their work. In other words, all the work that they did with all their efforts to overcome and to serve in the work of holiness was swallowed in the ground. Each day they had to start over, and it seemed to them as though they were never engaged in the work of holiness. Moreover, each time they contemplated moving forward, they saw that not only did they not progress, they even regressed, since knew who and what questions would always surface in their minds. Accordingly, we should understand this exodus from Egypt as their finally having the ability to serve the Creator without the alien thoughts of the Egyptians. Thus, what does this knowing in the words, and you shall know, come to tell us? That we must know that it is the Creator who delivered them from the land of Egypt. And there is more we should wonder about, since we began the examination at the enslavement in Egypt, when they were being worked in hard labour, and they were liberated from that. What else did they miss? But what is hard labour? Our sages explained the verse: all their labours, which they rigorously imposed on them, and women's work with men's work, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigour, with a soft mouth. We should also understand the matter of hard labour in the work of holiness. We should make two discernments. 1. The act called the revealed part, which a person can see, and where one cannot say that he is erring or deceiving himself, since it cannot be said that there is a mistake about something that is visibly apparent. This is so because with the act of mitzvot and the study of the Torah, he sees, and others can also see if he is carrying out actions of Torah and or not. To the intention, this is called the hidden part, since others cannot see the intention behind one's acts, and he too cannot see the intention in the act, since with intentions it is possible to mislead himself and deceive himself. For only in apparent things, called the revealed part, everyone can see the truth. But when it comes to intentions in the heart or thoughts in the mind, one cannot trust himself. It follows that this is the hidden form. This is hidden from himself and from others. Now we can interpret the meaning of hard labor, which was said to be replacing men's work with women's work. Men's work means that he is already a man, that he can overcome his evil and engage in mitzvot, in action. Thus what should he do when he is already called a man, meaning a man of war who can fight with his evil in action? Now is the time for him to begin his work in the second discernment, meaning in concealed, which is the intention in other words. Henceforth he should try to aim all his actions to be in order to bestow contentment upon the Creator and not for his own benefit. And what did the Egyptians do when they saw that he was a man who could exit their rule and enter holiness? They swapped their work and gave them women's work. This means that all their work was in women's work. That is, the Egyptians made them think who needs intentions. The actions are what count. And here in actions you will succeed. As you can see, you are a man, you prevail over the evil in you and engage in mitzvot in every detail and precision. And you must put all your efforts into being more meticulous in however you should not engage in intentions. This work is not for you, but only for a chosen few. If you begin with the work of bestowing, meaning noticing that you must aim everything to be in order to bestow, you will not have the energy to be so meticulous in the revealed action, where you will not deceive yourself because you see what you are doing. Therefore there is where you can expand in every detail and precision in your actions. But with regard to your intentions, you have no real test. Thus we advise you for your own good, and do not think, God forbid, that we want to divert you from the work of holiness. On the contrary, we want you to rise in the degrees of holiness. This is called replacing men's work with women's work. Where they should have done the work that belongs to men, they explained to the people of Israel that it would be best for them to do women's work, meaning what belongs to women. And women's work with men's work means that those people did not have the power to overcome, rather are as feeble as a female, meaning they were weak in keeping Torah and did not have the strength to keep and observe the mitzvot even in the revealed form, which is called only action. And all the work of overcoming was only in action, not in the intention. The Egyptians came to them and made them think, we don't want to interrupt your holy work. On the contrary, we want you to be true servants of the Creator. In other words, we see that you wish to serve in the work of holiness. So we are advising you that the most important thing is not the action, it is the intention. Therefore, instead of exerting to overcome in action, accustoming yourself to overcome your body, to study for another hour or to pray for another half hour, trying to answer blessed be he and blessed be his name and amen, not to mention in the middle of the repetition of the counter, who needs it. The main aim is for the Creator. That is where you need to focus all your efforts. Why waste your strength on trifling things? Indeed, the religious law says that you must keep all those little things. But this work is not for you, it's work for women. You need to engage in men's work. The fact that you want to engage only in action is unbecoming to you. You should focus primarily on the intent, meaning use every bit of energy you have to aim that everything will be for the Creator. However, don't think for a minute that we are trying, God forbid, to interrupt your work of the Creator. Rather, we want the contrary, for you to rise up the ladder of holiness and achieve perfection, meaning that all your actions will be only in order to bestow contentment upon your Maker. And since they were at the degree called women and still did not have the strength to overcome, not even in the part of the action, considered that they are feeble as females, the Egyptians made them see that the important thing was the aim. By that, the Egyptians made certain that they would not have the strength to continue and overcome the work of holiness. It is, as Sadis says when he wrote, the sages said one should always engage in Torah, even in Lishma, since from Lishma he will come to. Lishma therefore when teaching the little ones, the women and the illiterate. In general, they must be taught to work out of fear and to receive reward when they gain knowledge and acquire much wisdom. They are to be shown that secret, bit by bit, and must be accustomed to it with ease until they attain it and know him and serve him out of love. The Egyptians advised those who were under the discernment of women not to follow the words of Maimonides. On the contrary, even though they were at the degree of women and little ones, they made them understand that they should immediately begin the work unaimingly. By that the Egyptians made certain that they would remain in their domain outside of. Thus this is called hard labor, as Rabbi interpreted with toil means fragile or crumbling, and Rashi interpreted in crumbling and breaking of the body and the waist. The reason is that when replacing men's work with women's work and women's work with men's work, it will be as we explained, since men's work was to overcome and advance and aim for the intention, but they weakened them in this work because the Egyptians resisted this work. Hence, besides having to toil in overcoming, so they could aim in order to bestow, they had more work in that the Egyptians made them think that all of this work was redundant, that the work of bestow did not relate to them, but only to a chosen few. This is called twofold work, straining to aim in order to bestow, and to fighting them and saying that it is not true that they will be able to achieve lishma, and not as the Egyptians said that they should do women's work, and this was the Egyptians' whole intention, to prevent them from approaching the work of. Also they replaced the work of men with that of women, which as we said is worthless, because it is keeping Torah and mitzvot only in action. This means that their entire war against the inclination is only over the action, and not to says that women's work should be only about doing things and not teaching them that they must intend. Therefore, when the Egyptians came and told them that they had to do men's work, meaning aim to bestow, it was hard work for them. First, concerning you are totally incapable of it, and second, overcoming the body and keeping practical mitzvot was harder for them. Before the Egyptians, alien thoughts came and made them think that the act of mitzvot without intention was completely worthless, and degraded the importance of Torah and in lishma. Now through the Egyptians the work in the form of women was degraded, and this caused them hard labor, as it was said that it is the breaking of the body and the waist. It follows from all the above that there are three meanings to the word toil or hard labor, yet there is no contradiction between one interpretation and the other. Rather, all three things were there, and each interpreted according to his own issue. One, in the first interpretation of Rabbi Lazar, says it is in a soft mouth. 2, Rabbi said in, which means in breaking, and 3, Rabbi said they replaced men's work with women's work and women's work with men's work. However, they all interpret hard labor as shattering, meaning the breaking of the body, and the reason why it was hard work, to the point that they called this work labor that breaks the body and the waist, is that they replaced men's work with women's work and women's work with men's work. This caused them the hard labor. And yet why did they listen to the views of their Egyptians? It is because they spoke to Israel with a soft mouth, meaning that the thoughts of the Egyptians came to Israel with a soft mouth. That is, everything they told them to do was not to turn them away from serving the Creator God. Forbid, on the contrary, they wished to guide them to walk in the ways of the Creator successfully, so they would not waste time in vain, meaning that they would see no progress in the work of holiness. And since they were spoken to with a soft mouth, it was hard for them to overcome these thoughts. This implies that when he says that they replaced men's work with that of women, he explains why they listened to their Egyptians. The answer is because of they spoke to Israel with a soft mouth. Thus, it is for the two above reasons that they came to work in hard labor, as Rabbi says means work of breaking, which is work that breaks the body. Accordingly, we should understand why it is not enough for the people of Israel that the Creator brought them out of Egypt, out of their enslavement, so they could engage in Torah and mitzvot, each according to his attainment, and the keeper the shell of Egypt didn't have the strength to resist their work. Indeed, how great is the miracle, and who can appreciate the importance of the matter when a person considers the amount of suffering and torment that he feels while being in exile under the enslavement of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to the extent of the darkness of pet and rams that he assumes in his heart, which they were building. And now the gates of the keeper of Egypt, of the shell of Egypt, were opened before them all at once, and they came under their own authority. This means that now they were free to engage in as they wish without any interruptions. Joy and elation it brings to a person, where he compares the time of darkness to the time when it illuminates. It is as it is said, he who separates between darkness and light. According to the above, we should understand the necessity to know that only the Creator delivers them from the burdens of the Egyptians, as our sages said, when I bring you out, I will do for you something to show you that it is I who brought you out of from Egypt, as it is written that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. The thing is that we must always remember the goal that we must reach, and since the purpose of creation is to do good to his creations, our goal is to receive the delight and pleasure that he has contemplated on our behalf. For the purpose of correction, called attention, which is about equivalence of form, we have to work to obtain the vessels of bestow, but this is only the correction of creation. It is not wholeness. Wholeness means knowing the Creator, knowing and attaining the Torah, which is called the names of the Creator. Accordingly, it is not enough that we already have the strength to heap without any interruptions, for this is only a correction, not the complete goal. The complete goal is to obtain the knowledge of the Torah, as in the Torah, Israel and the Creator are one. This is why our sages said this is what the Creator said to Israel, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God who brought you out. I am not a messenger. This means that every single one should come to know the Creator, and this is called the names of the Creator. And now, friends, we're going to do a summary of the article in the tense. We're going to go around and workshop 8 minutes summary of the article in the tense. To keep everything is the purpose, to attain the Creator, to attain the purpose of creation, to receive everything from him, and the intention to bestow. Well, women signifies receiving and men signifies bestow, and the first flaw was about learning the rules of how to speak to the Creator. If I remember that correctly, it was about you have to know all the rules of how you can approach the Creator. I was a little confused by doing all the corrections. You're still not in wholeness. I thought that was the method for coming into wholeness. So what else is left after correction to knowing the Creator? And then I'm thinking knowing. I've been told that knowing is receiving, so I'm a little confused. Oh, thank you, God. Yeah, oops, I'm unmuted, sorry. Yeah, and then I was hearing that word waste, and I'm thinking, shouldn't that be waste? But then it started talking about breaking the body. And then I'm thinking, well, it must be the waste. But it didn't make sense until they got to the part of breaking the body where it seemed like they were using the correct word. So I'm wondering if that was an annulment, because that's the whole point, is to get to annulment, because the Creator can't finish for you until you in annulment. So I'm thinking maybe they did spell it right, but it didn't make sense until the last one that said breaking the body, when they used the word waste. Yes, and everything below the chest is considered receiving, so you would have to change that part of the body from receiving to bestow. So that makes sense. I definitely have something to listen to on the way to work tomorrow. There's so much to it. And the other article was as long as, well, so it was feeling like I'm listening for 2 hours straight, so not a lot of it absorbed. So thank you for clarifying certain things and reminding me also certain things but at some point I felt really like I need to pray for all and to hold on because it seems like he's moving and not kind of struggling and like kind of dryness. I just felt that it's difficult for him towards the end, so I was kind of thinking about Owen. Come on, you can do it, you can get to it. Focus was SDLY of also joining Mosh. That we're lucky that we have in order of work, we have a 10, we have complete awareness that without this first floor there, friends, we actually won't be able to come out, we won't have any knowledge, we won't gain any understanding or attainment that we need to come out of Egypt from the work of Pharaoh, arrow default work and rise sleep. Today, you're awake. See how late I made it. I had a visitor. I never even heard the article. I thought you took a nap. No, I had a visitor. When Makina takes a nap, she leaves we can see her taking a nap. That's right, it just catches up with me. All of that is on the way to of love of others. Person doesn't begin the work that happens to me all the time, defeat the war of the inclination, but when a person starts working the work of the Creator, and now, friends, we will read a special Psalms from. We're going to read a special chapter in Psalms chapter 119. We'll make it all a prayer so that everything that we read from Rabash will enter our hearts. Psalms 119. Blessed are those who are whose ways is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who comply with his testimonies and seek him with all their heart. They also do know injustice, they walk in his ways. You have ordained your precepts that we are to keep them diligently. Oh, that my ways may be established to keep your statutes. Then I will not be ashamed when I look at your commandments. I will give thanks to you with uprightness of heart. When I learn your righteous judgments, I will keep your statutes. Do not utterly abandon me. How can a young man keep his way pure? By keeping it according to your word. With all my heart I have sought you. Do not let me wander from your commandments. I have treasured your word in my heart, so that I may not sin against you. Blessed are you, Lord. Teach me your statutes. With my lips I have told of all the ordinances of your mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of your testimonies as much as in all riches. I will meditate on your precepts and regard your ways. I shall delight in your statutes. I will not forget your word. Deal generously with your servant, that I may live and keep your word. Open my eyes, and I may behold wonderful things from there. Lord, I am a stranger on the earth. Do not hide your commandments from me. My soul is crushed with longing for your ordinances. At all times you rebuke the arrogant, the cursed who wander from your commandments. Take disgrace and contempt away from me. I comply with your testimonies, even though rulers sit and speak against me. Your servant meditates on your statutes. Your testimonies also are my delights. They are my advices. My soul clings to the dust. Revive me according to your word. I have told of my ways, and you have answered me. Teach me your statutes. Make me understand the way of your precepts, and I will meditate on your wonders. My soul weeps because of grief. Strengthen me according to your word. Remove the false way from me, and graciously grant me your law. I have chosen the faithful way. I have placed your judgments before me. I cling to your testimonies. Lord, do not put me to shame. I shall run the way of your commandments, for you will enlarge my heart. Teach me the way of your statutes, Lord, and I shall comply with it to the end. Give me understanding so that I may comply with your law and keep it with all my heart. Make me walk in the path of your commandments, for I delight in it. Incline my heart to your testimonies, and not to dishonest gain. Turn my eyes away from looking at what is worthless, and revive me in your ways. Establish your word to your servant as that which produces reverence for you. Take away my disgrace, which I dread, for your judgments are good. Behold, I long for your precepts. Revive me through your righteousness. Make your favour also come to me, Lord, your salvation according to your word, so that I will have an answer for one who taunts me. For I trust in your word, and do not take the word of truth utterly. out of my mouth, for I wait for your judgment, so I will keep your law continually forever and ever, and I will walk at liberty, for I seek your precepts. I will also speak of your testimonies before kings, and shall not be ashamed. I will delight in your commandments, which I love, and I shall lift up my hands to your commandments, which I love, and I will meditate on your statutes. Remember the word to your servant in which you have made me hope. This is my comfort in my misery, that your word has revived me. The arrogant utterly deride me, yet I do not turn aside from your law. I have remembered your judgments from of old, Lord, and comfort myself. Burning indignation has seized me because of the wicked who abandon your law. Your statutes are my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. Lord, I remember your name in the night and keep your law. This has become mine, that I comply with your precepts. The Lord is my portion. I have promised to keep your words. I sought to your favor with all my heart. Be gracious to me. According to your word I considered my ways, and turned my feet to your testimonies. I hurried and did not delay to keep your commandments. The snares of the wicked have surrounded me, but I have not forgotten your law. At midnight I will rise to give thanks to you because of your righteous judgments. I am a companion to all those who fear you, and to those who keep your precepts. The earth is full of your goodness. Lord, teach me your statutes. You have treated your servant well, Lord. According to your word, teach me good discernment and knowledge, for I believe in your commandments. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. You are good, and you do good. Teach me your statutes. The arrogant have forged a lie against me. With all my heart I will comply with your precepts. Their heart is insensitive like fat, but I delight in your law. It is good for me that I was afflicted, so that I may learn your statutes. The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of gold and silver pieces. Your hands made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding, so that I may learn your commandments. May those who fear you see me and be glad, because I wait for your word. I know, Lord, that your judgments and are righteous, and that you have afflicted me in faithfulness. May your favor comfort me. According to your word to your servant, may your compassion come to me, so that I may live, for your law is my delight. May the arrogant be put to shame, because they lead me astray with a lie. But I shall meditate on your precepts. May those who fear you turn to me, and those who know your testimonies. May my heart be blameless in your statutes, so that I will not be ashamed. My soul languishes for your salvation. I wait for your word. My eyes fail with longing for your word, while I say, when will you comfort me? Though I have become like a wineskin in the smoke, I do not forget your statutes. How many are the days of your servant? When will you execute judgment on those who persecute me? The arrogant have dug pits for me, people who are not in accord with your law. All your commandments are faithful. They have persecuted me with a lie. Help me. They almost destroyed me on the earth, but as for me, I did not abandon your precepts. Revive me according to your faithfulness, so that I may keep the testimony of your mouth forever. Lord, your word stands in heaven. Your faithfulness continues throughout generations. You established the earth, and it stands. They stand this day by your ordinances, for all things are your servants. If your law had not been my delight, then I would have perished in my misery. I will never forget your precepts, for by them you have revived me. I am yours. Save me, for I have sought your precepts. The wicked wait for me to destroy me. I will diligently consider your testimonies. I have seen a limit to all perfection. Your commandments is exceedingly broad. How I love your law. It is my meditation all the day. Your commandments make me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever mine. I have more insight than all my teachers, for your testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than those who are old, because I have complied with your precepts. I have restrained my feet from every evil way, so that I may keep your word. I have not turned aside from your judgments, for you yourself have taught me. How sweet are your words to my taste, yet sweeter than honey to my mouth. From your precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. Your word is a lamp to my feet, and a light to my path. I have sworn, and I will confirm it that I will keep your righteous judgments. I am exceedingly afflicted, revive me. Lord, according to your word be pleased to accept the voluntary offerings of my mouth, Lord, and teach me your judgments. My life is continually in my hand, yet I do not forget your law. The wicked have set a trap for me, yet I have not wandered from your precepts. I have inherited your testimonies forever. They are the joy of my heart. I have inclined my heart to perform your statutes forever, even to their end. I hate those who are double-minded, but I love your law. You are my hiding place and my shield. I wait for your word. Leave me, you evildoers, so that I may comply with the commandments of my God. Sustain me according to your word, that I may live, and do not let me be ashamed of my hope. Sustain me so that I may be safe, that I may have regard for your statutes continually. You have rejected all those who stray from your statutes, for their deceitfulness is useless. You removed all the wicked of the earth like impurities. Therefore I love your testimonies. My flesh trembles from the fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments. I have done justice and righteousness. Do not leave me to my oppressors. Be a guarantor for your servant for good. Do not let the arrogant oppress me. My eyes fail with longing for your salvation and for your righteous words. Deal with your servant according to your graciousness, and teach me your statutes. I am your servant, give me understanding, so that I may know your testimonies. It is time for the Lord to act, for they have broken your law. Therefore I love your commandments above gold, yes, above pure gold. Therefore I carefully follow all your precepts concerning everything. I hate every false way. Your testimonies are wonderful. Therefore my soul complies with them. The unfolding of your word gives light. It gives understanding to the simple. I opened my mouth wide and panted, for I longed for your commandments. Turn to me and be gracious to me, as it is right for those who love your name. Establish my footsteps in your word, and do not let any wrongdoing have power over me. Redeem me from oppression by man, so that I may keep your precepts. Make your face shine upon your servant, and teach me your statutes. May eyes jet streams of water, because they do not keep your law. You are righteous, Lord, and your judgments are right. You have commanded your testimonies in righteousness and great far faithfulness. My zeal has consumed me, because my enemies have forgotten your words. Your word is very pure. Therefore your servant loves it. I am small and despised, yet I do not forget your precepts. Your righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and your law is truth. Trouble and anguish have come upon me, yet your commandments are my delight. Your testimonies are righteous forever. Give me understanding, that I may live. I cried out with all my heart. Answer me, Lord, I will comply with your statutes. I cry to you, save me, and I shall keep your testimonies. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I wait for your words. My eyes anticipate the night watches, so that I may meditate on your word. Hear my voice according to your faithfulness. Revive me, Lord, according to your judgments. Those who follow after wickedness approach. They are far from your law. You and your Lord, and all your commandments are truth. From long ago I have known from your testimonies, that you have founded them forever. Look at my affliction and rescue me, for I have not forgotten your law. Plead my cause and redeem me. Revive me according to your word. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they do not seek your statutes. Great are your mercies, Lord. Revive me according to your judgments. Many are my persecutors and my enemies, yet I do not turn aside from your testimonies. I see the treacherous and loathe them, because they do not keep your word. Consider how I love your precepts. Revive me, Lord, according to your faithfulness. Some of your word is truth, and every one of your righteous judgments is everlasting. Rulers persecute me without cause, but my heart stands in awe of your words. I rejoice at your word like one who finds great plunder. I hate and loathe falsehood, but I love your law. 7 times a day I praise you, because of your righteous judgments. Those who love your law have great peace, and nothing causes them to Stumble I hope for your salvation, Lord. And do your commandments my soul keeps your testimonies, and I love them exceedingly. I keep your precepts, and your testimonies, for all my ways are before you. Let my cry come before you, Lord, give me understanding according to your word. Let my pleading come before you, save me according to your word. Let my lips pour out praise for you. Teach me your statutes. Let my tongue sing about your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. Let your hand be ready to help me, for I have chosen your precepts. I long for your salvation, Lord, and your law is my delight. Let my soul live that it may praise you, and that your ordinances help me. I have wandered about like a lost sheep. Search for your servant, for I do not forget your commandments. We'll move to a report first of all. Thank you, Olan, for all the reading today. So dear friends, as we saw this morning while studying tests, it was a old lesson from 18 years ago. It's a complex part that we didn't go deep in there for a long time, so we see how important it is to have a good preparation for such a lesson, to know the text, to know the basic principles, to build like a basic principle inside that will take us through all the studies. Yesterday we were talking about how to study tests. He said it's a must, even if it's a beginner not so interested, would rather study other things.